maybe the premier game on the slate for this past weekend was Ravens-Dolphins. And boy, did Baltimore give them a good old-fashioned whooping. Did that say more about the Ravens' dominance or Miami's issues, Logan?
I'd say definitely a healthy dose of both. Baltimore, I do think, is the best team in football, and I think we can crown them that at this point. What they do defensively from top to bottom in terms of defensive talent and scheme, Ben Solak did a great breakdown of how Kansas City and how they pre-rotate at the line of scrimmage and how they use pre-snap motion against Miami. He did a great breakdown on that, and just talked about how they could kind of weaponize Miami's pre-snap motion against them. And Baltimore, like Spags, does a lot of pre-rotating at the line of scrimmage to disguise their coverages and are just uber talented top to bottom. And this is even a game where Kyle Hamilton doesn't play. You know what I mean? I think Kyle Hamilton is the second best safety in all of football behind Minkah Fitzpatrick, who has just unfortunately not been healthy at all this season. So Kyle Hamilton has been playing effectively like the best safety in football. And so I think that played a big part of it. I think that Baltimore and Kansas City are the two best defenses when it comes to playing against Tua. So I think this was always going to be a tough game. But this has been a proven track record thing here for Miami, Carson, this season. The Dolphins are 10-1 versus teams 500 or worse, and they're 1-4 versus teams better than 500. They've got the 21st ranked scoring defense. They've got the 30th ranked red zone defense, and very similar to how I feel about Philadelphia. I just don't trust this defense enough to help their offense win multiple playoff games. Maybe Miami can eke out one, but against top competition, I just don't think they hold a candle to them. I mean, I think this is an abysmal pass defense, and they've just got poor coverage over the middle of the field. Baltimore had them in jail, it felt like, all game with how they were running the ball, where any play action, linebackers have to bite and drop. Guys are open over the middle of the field. And this was a team that was number one in pressure rate and number one in overall pressure on the season. But they lose Bradley Chubb, ironically, to an ACL injury in a 4-score game. I mean, Chubb shouldn't even be out there. It's just a really bad beat and bad break for Miami. And so with that loss, I mean, they don't really have any big-time playmakers. I mean, shout out Jalen Ramsey. Like, he's just not that big of a needle mover to me to, he doesn't make up for an entire defensive shortcomings. And the one on the flip side of this, I do think that Lamar has been consistently disrespected as a passer, Carson. Like, I've been seeing these discussions online where people are like, oh, is Lamar a top 10 passer? Is he a top 15? Look, guys, Lamar's a top 5 passer. And you can make an argument that he's a top 3 passer. I don't get why Look, guys, just because he's not top 5 and top 10 in passer rating and top 3 in passing yards, just because Lamar's name doesn't come up with all of the passing numbers for quarterbacks, we don't have to just go off of stats, guys. Brock Purdy is not the best quarterback in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, we can watch the tape and we can go, Lamar is a top 5 passer in the NFL, because he is. The patience that we've seen this year. What really baffles me, Carson, is when he has time back there and he will take 1 or 2 steps up in the pocket and still make a throw almost parallel to the line of scrimmage with his body. All the arm angles, the arm ability, the accuracy. We don't have to have the numbers to back up that Lamar is this good as a passer. We can watch the tape and see how accurate and on time and how he's dissecting these defenses and making these great decisions and being so patient in the pocket. I think that's the guy that to me has been really disrespected in all of this, and that's something that I thought this game spoke volumes to even more, is that Lamar is every bit of the passer that we have praised him to be. And with these weapons, I mean, you see the big Zay Flowers TD, the Odell Beckham fade catch in the corner. Mm-hmm. It's just the best group of weapons that he's had. So I think it's a little bit of both. This is the best defense in the NFL with the best defensive schemer in the NFL, with the MVP of the league that is playing the best as a pocket passer of his entire career, with the best weapons of his career, with the best offensive coordinator of his career. It's just, we saw the best team in football go up against a team that I think is slightly overrated. I don't think that the Dolphins are fake by any means, but they are, I think, in the ethos and the totality of the NFL, a little overrated. It's a little bit of both. I would say this spoke more probably to Baltimore's dominance, though. I just think Baltimore is everything that we have touted them up to be throughout this season.
Totally agree with just about everything that you've said. I think that this told us more about the Ravens. This was just a smackdown. And Lamar was perfect in this game. I would say it's the best quarterback performance of the year. He was deadly accurate. His touch was amazing. And then he did all of the usual insane Lamar stuff, making dudes miss, showing the raw arm talent. And his receivers made some awesome plays in this game.
Mm-hmm.
But on that OBJ catch, Lamar made an insane throw, like damn near sidearmed, not really stepping into it, 40 yards downfield, right on target. On that likely catch, which was an awesome one-handed snag, that only comes after a sick sidearm throw by Lamar as he's taking a hit, putting the ball where only his guy can get it on a 4th and 7. And I see people going out there and somehow making this game about the performances from his receivers. No other elite quarterback would be getting hit with the his receivers made it happen take than Lamar after playing a perfect football game. Like, does Joe Burrow get hit with that when his elite receivers have made elite plays every game up to this point in his career? No. But when Lamar, who has played with as little receiving talent as any elite quarterback since he came into the league, has some dude step up, there's immediately some rush to discredit him. It is just absurd. He is the MVP. He's a hell of a lot closer to the second best quarterback in the NFL than the 4th, Logan.
Damn right. Damn
right. And I'm
right.
as big of a Josh Allen defender as there is. But Lamar's been better this year. He's just been more consistent. He hasn't had that one dud, that what are you doing performance like Josh has. He has been unbelievable this entire season. And I don't know if I would say he's a top 5 pure passer. He's certainly top 10. He's definitely in that top 7. I'm just thinking, when you're looking at a fully healthy league with Herbert, with Burrow, with Matt Stafford, the level that he's playing at, I'm taking
Lamar,
range.
Man.
As a pure passer?
You want to do a thought exercise? That list ain't too long. I would go Mahomes. I would go Josh Allen. I would go Burrow, Herbert, Lamar. I think he's top 5 for me. The guy on the cusp would be Stafford. Stafford would be the guy that I might have
Stafford's
a better
pure passer than Lamar. I think he's a better pure passer than Lamar. I think he's got even more arm talent. I think he's even more accurate. I think he's got even more variety. Stafford is crazy as a pure passer.
I just don't want to take for granted, too, because I think when we do that, when we go pure passer, it's like, are you taking away too? For example, when Lamar scrambles and buys himself time, to extend a play and to make a pass, like, I just think we can kind of, where do we draw the line for pure passer? You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing, too, that when we're talking about pure passers, I just don't know why we paint that into the box. There's a huge conglomerate, Carson, that I think that still thinks that Lamar Jackson cannot win a Super Bowl. And that is something that I'm really rooting for this season in these playoffs. For Lamar not only to win a playoff game, I would love for the Ravens to make a Super Bowl push to the Super Bowl, because there is still this huge contingency of NFL fans that think that you cannot win a Super Bowl with this kind of quarterback. And you can take some of the undertones with that, because I think there are some that come with that statement. But it's like, I don't know how you can still hold that belief when we've seen so many guys get so close. We saw Cam Newton get to a Super Bowl, and if he dives on a fumble, we may not still believe that about QBs. If Jalen Hurts, if Mahomes doesn't steal that game away from him, do we still feel that way? And there's still this belief that Lamar can't win a playoff game, can't get it done in the big game, will never win a Super Bowl because of his style of play and maybe because of his skin tone. I believe in Lamar. I fully believe in Lamar, and I want him to get that done, because I want him to get that off of his back and to get that off of his shoulders, man. Just because there's just a lot of hate. There's a lot of hate that Lamar gets that, just like you said, man, other quarterbacks don't. He just gets a ton of extra criticism, man, that I hate. No other quarterback, I feel, gets as constantly. You can throw out Tua or Purdy, but when I say that, I'm saying that these are guys that aren't even in the same conversation of Lamar. People are just so slow to give credit and to praise Lamar, and I don't get it. My dad has finally come around.
Let's go, Jimmy.
It took a damn 300-yard 5 TD performance, but I called him after during the Steelers game, and he was like, I'm going to give my flowers to Lamar. And I told him, it's about damn time, dude.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him this year, man, because there's just I'm tired of the haters on Lamar, man. If this year doesn't do it for you, man, I don't know what will.
Yeah. And whether he's top 5 or top 7 as a pure passer, there's no question that he's elite there. And the people who try to deride that part of his game are just wrong. The arm talent is elite. The pocket presence is elite. The accuracy, the timing, the touch, it's all damn good. And he has come far in those respects since he came into the league. And then when you combine that with the fact that he is the single most elusive, the most dangerous runner that we've ever seen at the quarterback position, he's just undeniably a top 3 offensive engine in football. He is undeniably a top 3 guy that I want for a playoff run. You can't make those arguments having concerns about him as a passer. Not anymore, dude. He has just so convincingly shut those people up. And if you're going to hold on to that take, you're just wrong, and you're going to be proven conclusively wrong. I am so impressed by Lamar every single game. And the other side of what was so resoundingly impressive about this Ravens performance was this defense again, man. I really do think this is the best defense in football now. 3 straight weeks, they have held the Jags with T-Law when he was healthy to 7, then the Niners to 19, even that they scored in garbage time, and then the Dolphins to 19. And those last 2 are both top 3 scoring offenses. As we discussed last week, they are elite at almost every single position. I mean, more than half of their starters could reasonably be Pro Bowlers, and then they have another handful at least of guys who are just below that level, and they just make huge play after huge play. So I'm with you. This to me does cement them as my Super Bowl favorite. After last week, I still said I think I'm leaning Niners, although I've talked about how I prefer that quarterback and defense formula, and the Ravens had those edges, but I thought the Niners are so good offensively. The scheming, what they can do in the trenches, running the ball, their skill position talent, that's so great, and their defense is still damn good. But I think the Ravens are just playing better football right now. I think the defense is that stifling. I think Lamar is that overwhelmingly great that they have to be number 1. And for the Dolphins, this really just exposed the defense a bit. And I think people have started to really warm up on that unit. And I even gave them some props after that Cowboys game. I thought they played pretty well. But they have largely been producing against really subpar competition. I don't buy into that as a unit that scares me at all, especially without Bradley Chubb. Couldn't stop the run. Couldn't finish sacks versus Lamar at the very least, which is tough to do, but he made them pay every time. And then offensively, Tua made a couple of costly mistakes in this one, which happens from time to time. They just, as a football team, do not scare me. And they're good, but if you don't have that elite singular quarterback talent, and if you have a significantly flawed defense, then I just can't really buy into you for a playoff run.